Yay! Stay. Hello. Hi, guys. I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to join, and feel free to comment if you can see and hear me. And I'm going to be sharing this on, like, my page and stuff, so bear with me for a moment. Yeah, so if you're watching this, and feel free to share it with other people as well. Let's see. There we go. On like my page and stuff, so bear with me. There, gotta edit. Cut my sound or we get an echo. Yeah, one more. We're also gonna call Director Maggie McKenna, so she will be like on another device, but she'll be able to read your comments and share them with me because I can't do that while I'm here. There. There we go. Okay, that should be good. Hi. Okay, now we're gonna call Maggie. Call again, yes. Hi, Maggie.
How's it going?
Good. Okay, I think I have everything set up. So now I'm going to read to everybody a little bit of stuff. So yeah, everybody's stuck at home, and I'm sorry about that. That's no fun. But lots of people are enjoying art, and that's why the Arts Council is important. They can't do their in-person classes right now, so they're doing this every weekday at 4, yeah? And different artists are going live from wherever they are and sharing what they have. So there's a link in the description for if you want to contribute. Whatever you have is awesome for them, and share the live stream. And if you want to present one of these as well, get a hold of Maggie and you can do that. So yeah, so I've got Maggie and she can read your comments. So if you have any questions, what I'm going to do is throw some pots today. My screen is short, so you can't see all of me, but I'll put it, oh, am I gone? No, I'm still here. I'll put it down here, and then you can see. And I prepped some pots to throw. I'm gonna make a sugar jar because somebody wanted a sugar jar, and they're kind of fun to watch. So yeah, this is pottery wheel. This is actually the Arts Council's pottery wheel, which is a long story. And this thing I put on it is called a bat. It's so you can pick up and move things after or before you've made them. I have like, they come in all different sizes. You know, you get a bunch of them. And this is clay that I centered already, so I sort of squished it around to be in this shape so that you wouldn't have to sit and watch that, because it's just not very interesting to watch. So clay is like, they're like little irregular shaped platelets, and then you shape the clay to get them to all line up so that they'll be organized and turn into something that's strong. So now I'm just centering it a little bit more. And once everything's roughly evenly, symmetrical, that's what you're going for, then you can start pushing down and opening it up if you want to make something that is hollow in the center, which you usually do, I think, probably. Yeah. So, yeah.
Sarah, I have a confession for you.
What's the question?
No, I have a confession for you.
Oh, what's your confession? Yeah, you're like really quiet. I don't know if I can like make it loud again, but
Well, I'll try to be loud then.
yeah.
My confession, I've never
Well, someday I imagine you will.
I have a feeling I probably will at some point.
Yeah. It's fun. I think a lot of people are like, they've never done anything with clay and they're like, I want to throw pots. And it's like, well, you can, but it's a lot of work. Like, I mean, sometimes you just do stuff over and over again and none of it works. And then you just sort of have to put it in a bucket and then mash it all, like start all over again the next day. So it's not, yeah, it's a little mixed. So I'm making a cylinder. So that's, you can get things really tall by starting by making a cylinder. And you need water to keep the clay moving smoothly under your pressure. But you add too much water and the clay gets, the particulate, it starts to fall apart and it'll just like flop. You don't want to do that. So yeah, I routinely add water, but then take it away so there's not too much. So that's a cylinder. And then I want to bring the top in a little bit more. And now I'm going to start to make it into the actual sugar bowl. And the top can get sort of out of control, so you're constantly pushing down and just being aware of how the top part is. Like that. And sometimes you find air bubbles in it, and then you have to stop it and find it and then dig it out. And sometimes it's not an air bubble, sometimes it's like a random piece of garbage that got incorporated into your clay. But the air bubbles will explode if you fire it too fast, so you want to get rid of them. And if it's garbage, you want to get rid of that too, because it'll like melt and get funky. One time a friend was throwing with like recycled clay and it was big. She couldn't figure out what it was. She found one of those alphabet refrigerator magnets in the wall of her pot. She'd like managed to make this giant pot and had to pull out like an orange letter M.
That's ridiculous.
So you gotta be careful. All right. Yeah. So this is okay. Yeah, so anyone can type questions and then Maggie can yell them to me and then I can answer them.
I'm just grabbing some tea right now, but I'll be right back to my...
Maggie's having a cup of tea. That would be nice. I could go for a cup of tea. Can I get an assistant? I probably can't get an assistant right now.
You're gonna have to work on that on your own time, my friend.
But I don't think an assistant falls under social distancing.
No, that won't work very well. My assistants are age 3 and 6, and they're completely useless for most work situations.
Aww.
Alright. Got a couple people on.
Yeah.
13 people right now. Hi, Megan. Hi, Mike. Michael. Kayla. Nicole.
So Kayla and we facilitated a Zoom call for her 4-year-old to do some drawing today. And it was like the best thing ever. And we want to try and do it again with like some more kids. They
love that.
I taught, preschool and after school for years, but in person. So I don't know how exactly how many kids I can handle on Zoom and teach drawing to at the same time, but we're going to find out. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. Yeah, so this is a rib, and it was made by, these were designed by this like potter that was like, all these clay tools we have are terrible. So then he designed them like what he wanted, and they're like the best clay tools ever. Actually, I have a bunch. This is a trimming tool of his, and this sponge is by him as well. I usually get them from like the clay store in Syracuse called Clayscapes. So you try and purchase things locally, but yeah. All right.
Once we have an art center, we'll have a store with stuff.
Yeah. So I'm currently in the old tile company in their basement space. That was where like they did openings down here, and this was like this area back here is where they kept the snacks, but the Arts Council is going to turn it into a public art space with gallery and workshop space, and I'm excited to see that. I think that'll be great. So
yeah, I'm actually gonna probably take over one of these live videos like next week or something, and actually give a presentation on like what we're expecting the art center to look like with drawing and stuff like that. So y'all could be right in on the planning process and everything.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they can, if the mic, does my mic pick up you?
I don't know, I'd have to
yeah, I don't know. So I don't think anybody.
Unmute my computer.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So Maggie was just telling me that like one of these weekday afternoon, early evening ones, she'll do a presentation on like what they're gonna do for this space to turn the tile company into a public art space. I don't know if I can help with that somehow and like give a tour with pictures or something since I'm here anyway, but maybe I'll be able to come back and just like help out with that in some way. So now I'm making a lid for my jar. So I'm going to use these thingies to measure the opening of the jar that I just made. I'm not very good at this. I always end up having to measure like 20 times, and then I let them dry out for like a day, and then I end up having to like resize them anyway. So this is like really approximate right now. But so I'll just
couple quick things while you're doing that. Kayla said Demian loved his drawing class.
Yay!
So you should check that out.
So,
but also she said that they can't hear me.
Oh, okay, good, yeah. So, all right, so this is gonna be a lid. So I'm thinking about a lid for a jar, but like upside down. And I have I'm working on a honey jar too, so I can show you like a honey jar that's already been formed and like cleaned up and put together and just needs to be like decorated. Yeah, it's weird that I'm working on a honey jar and a sugar jar like at the same time. They're for totally different people and they're totally different styles, but oh well.
Matt told me to ask, why did they call it throwing clay?
Shoot, I can't remember.
Throwing.
And they don't, it's not a universal term. Like people from other countries are like, oh, you're spinning pots. And I'm like, what? No, I'm throwing. It's historical. It had something to do with, they used to be these old manual wheels on like a spindle, and then there was like rope wrapped around it, and there was a thing attached to the rope, and you threw that thing and the rope went flying and like made the wheel spin. I believe that's the theory I've heard. So there was literally some throwing involved. But yeah, like I think
I have to get that.
There's like all sorts of historical like I don't know, pottery wheels all over the world have worked very differently. Like a lot of them, they're like run by your feet and stuff like that. So, yeah. I love old manual kick wheels. They're really fun, but they have like this like 1,000-pound stone on the bottom that spins to maintain the momentum. And like, I'm not able to deal with something that heavy at this point in time, but maybe the Arts Council will be able to in the future because that could be fun.
Yay!
Yeah, so this is not really the shape that I want, but it's sort of close enough. So I'll probably go with that. And then later I'll like dry it out and use tools like this to like trim things up and make it smaller. And I can show you one of those that's already done. And always turn your wheel off when you're not using it, because if you set something on your wheel and step on the foot pedal by accident, it goes flying, and it is not fun, and it's very startling, and stuff gets broken that way. Okay, here's a sugar jar. No, this is honey. All right, so this I made the same way. So this was made like this, and then I cleaned it up, and then I flipped it over and put it on here, and then like spun the whole thing around, and then used this to like clean this shape up. And then I stuck a little bumblebee on it because it's honey, and that's cute, so. Yeah, so I don't know, that's sort of like all I set up for you guys. I don't know, I could make something else. Technically, I could clean up the bottom of this, called trimming. That actually might be nice, because that's kind of like a whole other thing. We could do that. I don't know, is there time? Do you want to do another? Do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
4:15, do as much as you
Okay,
like.
cool. We're going to do some...
People pop in and out.
Yeah, so we're going to do some trimming. Oh, go ahead.
I've done a Google search, my friend.
Yes.
LakesidePottery.com has a page on why is it called throwing. Really good at researching. But anyway, origin of, quote, to throw, Old English, twist, turn, or propel.
Okay.
The Old English word is actually means to twist and turn.
Okay.
So
huh.
It's not just propelling like we think of.
Yeah.
So some potters describe their work as turning.
Yep. Or spinning, or yeah. I don't know. I mean, I was always told it's we had in like I went to Alfred, which is like a ceramic school, and we had the first 2 clay classes offered were hand building, where you build sculptures, and then wheel throwing was where you learn to use the wheel, but like as like a tool. So we didn't learn to make pots. We like made shapes and sculptures, and some of the professors took that very seriously and would like throw out student work that was functional, and the students would cry, and it was weird, and yeah, so the Arts Council will not be like that when they offer art classes. They will let you make what you want. Yeah, like art school, like really like well-regarded art schools are like a little weird in a lot of different ways. We'll just go with that. So I was just using a clay called white earthenware that like chemically is very different from what this is. This is porcelain. They get fired at different temperatures. They use different glazes at different temperatures. And you don't want to mix them, although I'm not that. Like some people that use porcelain are like, only porcelain and don't let anything else. I'm kind of messy, so I just wiped everything down. I shouldn't use this nasty like gray water, but it's probably going to happen anyway because, I don't know, that's life. So now I need to recenter this, which I am not great at. There's a way to do it where you spin it very slowly and you like tap it into center. I have never managed to do that in 15 years of doing this, so we're just going to do the way that I usually do, and that is you draw a circle, and you see, oh, that's like not centered, so you just like lightly shove it, and then draw again. And it can be hard because sometimes like the foot is not in line with the body, so you just sort of have to decide at a certain point, like, you know what, I'm just going to go with this. But ideally, everything is all like lined up in concentric circles. All right, so that's what I want. They do make tools that like will like grab your stuff and center it for you. For some reason, there's like a weird stigma. Like it's called a griffin grip, and it's like, oh, you use a griffin grip? What's wrong with you? Like, it's weird. I don't get it. I think if you're like a production potter, meaning you make like 100 mugs of the same thing, they're actually like, you really want one. But if you're just like making different stuff, or like you're a hobby potter, then you really don't need one, and you're not learning how to deal with what you made hands-on. So maybe that's part of it. So, all right. This is my new trimming tool. Oh, what? Go ahead.
No, crazy. I'm sorry. Did you
No, it's okay. This is my new trimming tool and I love it. And it's like both, it does like all sorts of different things and it's amazing. That's all. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your commercial work and your more artistic work with pottery specifically. Do you mostly do commissions, or do you ever kind of like just make things for the heck of it?
Yeah, so that's sort of like a business and personal practice question. So most of my income comes from high price point commissions. I try not to do anything under $100 because it's just like too much work for people tell me what they want and then I make it for them and it's a fairly involved process. So to do things for like under $100 or something like that just isn't worth it. So I'll make, but like, sugar bowls and stuff like that for like somebody locally, like that's not that expensive. So it's sort of like sculptural and functional. That's most, and then I do classes and stuff like that. I don't have a lot of time to make personal ceramic work. I don't know, personal work, I got really into shredding my old paintings and weaving them, and that just became like the personal thing I work on art-wise, and it's got not a lot to do with clay, but that's all right. Like, so.
Well, you're also a really great painter.
Yeah.
I have some of your drawings and paintings in my house too.
I love painting, and I almost never paint like I'm doing these weavings and I go to apply for shows that are like, okay, painters apply here. And I'm like, wait, I didn't use any paint on this. Am I even a painter anymore? Like, how do I like there's like grant funding specifically for painters and like, I no longer qualify for it. And it's sort of odd and I don't understand. So yeah, I don't know how to describe my work other than it's like a hybrid of art and craft. And yeah, I mean, that's like, it's sort of mixed having an art-based business because like, if I didn't make my money doing commissions, then I would probably be making really wacky ceramic stuff when I could. But, doing commissions allows me to like maintain a studio, so it's hit or miss. Yeah, I don't know. There's lots of different, a lot of people like do production work where they make like, orders of mugs for restaurants or stores, and that's a whole other. I've never tried to do that. It just doesn't seem appealing to me. So that's not my method of doing things. I don't think I even can. Like, I'm just not that good of doing the same thing over and over again. So.
Though you've made some really cool molds before.
I did make molds. That's because I wanted to be able to sell things locally at a lower price point. So I made things and then I made molds of them, and then I can fill the molds of like dog faces and cat faces and like the map of Potsdam, and then I can just like paint them, and then the price point is like between $80 and $20, and that's a lot more accessible for people. So those are fun.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see those molds and things like that when I set up your featured show at Tijuana.
That's right. Yeah.
We like laid out your molds to show people. That was super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Tawny has a bunch of my stuff and there. Yeah, so there's different ways to do that. So you can trim and then go straight through and be like, ah, shit. And then I'm not supposed to swear. I'm sorry. You go, sugar biscuits. And then you like patch it up. Or if you're a production potter and you're in a hurry and you go through the bottom, you just toss it. You don't have time to like make a clay band-aid. But like, because I'm doing more involved work and like sculptural work often, I like patch things. And yeah, I'll have like students who are really attached to something and it breaks. And I'm like, we can fix it. It'll be okay. Like, not always, but usually you can fix stuff. So, but because I've been doing this for so long, I can like tap on it and I know how thick or thin the clay is. But it's more of like a feel than like the sound necessarily. Like if I tap on it and it's really too thin, like it'll give and like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, that's like one of those things you just learn over time to do. So. But yeah, so, and like why you want clay to be sort of thin so that it fires easier and dries out evenly. Otherwise, like if the top dries out and the bottom is still drying, the bottom will pull apart from the stress, and then your thing that you just worked on is totally gone, and that's not fun. So yeah, and then it's hard to make something that's totally even and flat anyway to rest on the table, so you can, carve out the bottom, and then it's just this ring that sits on the table, and that's easier to do. So, and yeah, just... Hi, Penny! And like you're thinking about like this outline. So it's, I threw it, and this part is kind of thin, or this part is kind of thick because it would have been too... it wouldn't have been strong enough to make it really thin. It wouldn't have stayed up. So now that it's dried out and a little bit stronger, I can like dig into it and make an outline that I prefer. So I just want to be careful not to go in so far that like the whole thing pops off and then I don't have a jar anymore. So, yeah.
Sara, John Burbridge said, "You are so good at this."
You would think that maybe I have some experience, eh? But thanks. We got to see John. John has so many books. I've never seen so many books in like a personal house before. That's, I think, your live stream got cut off, but I was like, whoa, look at his book collection. This is another trimming tool. This is called a loop tool. I almost want to say this was the Arts Council's loop tool, and I ended up with it. There.
Before my time.
Who knows? Yeah, so... Yeah, and because this is like a custom piece, what I do for a lot of people is after I trim the foot, we like put special little notes on the bottom and stuff. So that's, if you're getting something made just for you, you can personalize like every side of it and not just, put a little thing on one part or something. I don't know. Yeah, so that's starting to get thinner, so I don't want to keep going. This is still pretty thick, but I kind of like the way it's shaped, so this is just about done. You also want to keep some weight, like people will be like, oh, pottery should be thin, but then it gets more fragile. So I like to keep things thicker so it's more durable. Like I do porcelain stuff and people give it to their kids and like it's, their kids can use it till they're old because it doesn't break when they drop it. So, and now we have a little honey jar, and I'm gonna draw some pictures of cows on it, and then I'm gonna color it, and then it's gonna get fired twice. So that's pretty much how you make a jar. Yeah. And if you have enjoyed watching this, you should share it and click on the donation link and give the Arts Council some cash if you're able to do so at this point in time. And anything else, Maggie?
I think that's all. Join us tomorrow.
So, who's tomorrow?
Wednesday. Tomorrow is actually Thomas Novosel. He's a really great pen drawing person. I don't know that I've actually created the event for him yet. But yeah, tomorrow we've got Thomas Novosel doing some ballpoint pen drawing exercises. So grab your pen and...
so Tom's going to be like, it's going to be instructional with Tom then.
I think his is going to be kind of more instructional, yeah.
That'll be cool. So yeah.
Then on Thursday we've got Camilla Averati, the program director at Tawny. She's going to be playing some banjo.
Oh, that's
playing
fun.
Some banjo tunes for y'all.
And then what do you have? Do you have somebody for Friday?
Yeah, and then Friday Tina Siebel is going to be doing some silver jewelry making.
Oh,
where she's going to show us her silver studio. Silver studio. Like
that sounds good. So yeah, so you guys have drawing and then banjo and I can show you guys my weavings because I just hung them up and then we'll say goodbye. So yeah, this is my studio. That's my to-do list. And there we go. That's my personal work that I don't really know how to explain, but that's what's up. So, all right, thanks for joining. Hope to see everybody on the live stream the rest of the week. All right, bye.